I'm so glad that so many people came, and I'm Paulette Meier, and I just wanted to say a couple words about how we came into doing this gathering. And it was, I believe that I saw that from Dave Fankhauser's Facebook page, maybe, about this book that came out about the Zimmer movement, and I had not known about it. And so I contacted Dave and said, this is amazing. And I ran out and got my copy from the library, and I said, we need a reunion. This calls for a reunion of all the activists that struggled for this together. And it's been about 50 years, almost. And so that just set it off, and Dave said, I know how to contact Alyssa. And so we contacted Alyssa, and the three of us started planning, and I said, we need to bring Tim Krause in. And Tim's done a lot to plan it, and then we said we need Jenny Dennison and people from Zach, so Jenny started planning it with us. So this is how it came to be. So just a few people, and my memory's not very good, so I couldn't remember who to contact about it. So I started putting it out on my Facebook page a lot, and we also arranged to have David and Alyssa speak on the radio on Lucy May's program, and to see maybe we could reach more people that way. And so I don't know if you heard it on, Jill?
Sorry to interrupt. I thought there was a choir practice thing. This is a little distracting.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's still running. I meant to just have it when we came in. Yeah, thank you. No, it was actually Diana Porter and Len Webb, their band together. And so I wanted to play it because they wrote songs specifically for this struggle and put out an album, and so it's back there. And Diana and Len just moved to Philadelphia, so they were really sorry they couldn't be here. I said, you need to be here to play it, to sing it live. So yeah, and Greg Core, I just want to say real quick, he's the one that wrote some of those songs, and he unfortunately died not too long ago, suddenly, so that was sad to hear, but his voice is on that album. And I think that's it. We're just so grateful to Alyssa McClanahan for writing this book. Can we just give her a round of applause? Because she documented this movement so thoroughly. And it took her years to work on this over time. So just really grateful. And very grateful that we are here at First Unitarian Church. Gratis, Tim Krause is a member, and that really worked out well because we have a nice place to do this today. So thank you, everybody, and Alyssa's going to take it from here.
Thank you. All right, I think I'm going to stand just for a second. So thank you all for coming. What we wanted to do today is I'm going to give an incredibly brief intro of what happened with Zimmer. I think that's incredibly unnecessary for all of the people assembled in front of me, but just in case there's anyone that needs a refresher, a bit of an overview. And then I am just going to sit back and be a moderator. All of the people assembled in front of you had heavy involvement in various ways with the Zimmer battle saga, and I know people on this side did as well. And so all of the folks over here are going to take a few minutes to share what they did, lessons learned, that kind of a thing. We'd also love to have everyone else share as well. This is just a reunion sharing event that is very inclusive and kind of open-ended. So that's the plan for today. So, and I have my phone out, not to be rude, but to keep us on time so that we're moving along. All right, so for anyone that needs it, this is a quick overview of Zimmer. And I should caveat all of this by, I'm a historian, and historians work really hard to get all of the facts as correct as possible. But anything I got wrong, or that should be elaborated or nuanced, please share. I know not everyone is also in the book, or not everyone's in the book equally, which is just kind of the nature of writing a book. But again, we love everyone to share so we can further flesh out this really important local story. In 1969, 3 utility companies in Ohio announced their intention to build an almost $400 million nuclear power plant in Moscow, Ohio, which is a sleepy little town along the Ohio River, about 28 miles southeast of Cincinnati. 15 years later, in 1984, the resulting William Zimmer nuclear power station, which then had $1.7 billion invested into it, was canceled, 99% complete and still unlicensed by the federal government. It was a dramatic 15 years. By 1980, thousands of safety and construction errors had surfaced at the plant. Issues like junkyard steel being used for parts, welders with no welding training, the majority of parts installed correctly and with almost no paper trail. In 1981, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission slammed the majority-owning utility, Cincinnati Gas and Electric, with a then record-high fine for what they called a widespread breakdown in safety and quality assurance at Zimmer. And it got worse from there, implicating not only the utility companies in criminal mismanagement, but also the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in being a poor regulator. As the project dragged on through the years also marked by one of America's worst recessions, 2 energy crises, Zimmer's costs grew to be almost 9 times larger than originally expected, and it was utility ratepayers who had to pay a portion of these wasted construction expenses in their monthly utility bills. And so through all of this is what the book is up to. An evolving movement of people in the Cincinnati metro area rejected the plant for both safety and cost concerns. At first, from what I could figure out, it was a few hundred people. By the end of the 70s, it seemed like it had grown to several hundred people. And by the early 80s, as the plant's condition continued to worsen, the movement, according to records that I found from the Coalition for Affordable and Safe Energy, had 20,000 people and organizations sign their name to oppose Zimmer. Parents, local officials, teachers, scientists, utility ratepayers, homeowners, whistleblowing workers, civil rights activists, union labor activists, important lawyers. It was a beautiful collection of different kinds of people. And the way I interpret it was they gradually and temporarily united because they cared about a couple of things that are pretty easy to care about. Good quality of life, the right to have a voice in your community, and the belief that corporations and government agencies should be accountable to the public. They questioned Zimmer's owners and federal regulators, who, despite obvious signs of mismanagement, consistently ignored and sidelined critique of the project, pretty much unilaterally forging ahead. But ultimately, all of these forces caught up with Zimmer's champions. Local, dogged protest by you all, combined with serious financial and regulatory pressures, made the utility companies cancel Zimmer and convert it to coal. Said more simply, as Phil Amadon told me, while it was CG&E's own mismanagement and money issues that doomed Zimmer, that outcome was not guaranteed without popular pressure. So, that as a segue, we wanted to have different folks share their memories of this in rough chronological order. So I'm going to prompt people, and instead of me introducing you, I actually think maybe you introduce yourself in your own words, who you were maybe then, and then maybe briefly share what you contributed to Zimmer. The major things you did, but also lessons learned, and anything else you want to share. So we're going to start with David Fankhauser, who was one of the first to protest, one of the longest protesters, and then we'll go to John Walliver after that, if that works. So I'm going to be the moderator and just prompt you when we're kind of getting close to 5-6 minutes. I'm going to start making a little noise, not to be rude, but just keep us on time. All right?
Sorry, you want to do it? I was just going to transfer. And you don't need to stand unless you want to.
Well, no, I think standing is good because you hear better when you see them better. Yeah. Okay, so I'm David Fankhauser. I'm here with my wife Jill. And in 1971, I got my PhD in genetics from Johns Hopkins. And it was the era of turn on, tune in, and drop out. And so I was tired of the rat race of one more prestigious academic position after another. And so we literally dropped out. We moved to a little farm. She was pregnant. We wanted a healthful place to raise our children. We grew chickens, we got goats, so on and so forth. And we thought we were a little piece of paradise, and what could be healthier? When my neighbor, Elizabeth Seberg, who at that point was in her mid-70s, who was a psychologist, she was adamantly in favor of organic gardening and was very careful about all of that. She said, did you know they're building a nuclear power plant just about 10 miles upwind from here? I said, what? So, as a geneticist, I worked with mutations. Mutations are induced by carcinogens, of which radiation is one of the prominent ones. And so clearly that did not seem like a good idea to me. I started looking into it, and it was the best tool I had was education and educating. And so I began to speak to organizations around Claremont County and in Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. I think I did somewhere between 50 and 75 talks over the period of 5 or 10 years. By the way, I remember the bad old days when you used transparencies in your, okay, well, I found the transparencies from one of my early talks, which is sort of interesting. Many of which, by the way, are still accurate. We still don't have a way to dispose of the waste. We still can't find insurance companies willing to insure the plants. The government, you and I, are insuring nuclear plants. Okay. So, I began to look into it, and of course, it's situated on the Ohio River, and the Ohio River, as you know, is the source of drinking water for Cincinnati, and it seemed like foolish in the extreme to build a nuclear power plant just upstream from your water intake. We knew also that the amount of radiation generated in that plant, an 800 megawatt plant, was equivalent to 800 times the radiation produced in one Hiroshima bomb. So this is an enormous amount of radiation, for which then and to this day, they do not have a satisfactory way to guarantee its safe storage for the many, literally thousands of years for it to safely decay. So I began to speak out. There's a number of anecdotes on that I might tell you. My neighbors, many of them, were employed at Zimmer, and they were earning $15 an hour, which was huge wages in those days. I mean, it was not unusual for people to be earning $5, $6 an hour. So they were very happy to have that plant being constructed, and they were not happy to hear me complaining about it. And you may know that I have a history in civil rights. I was an activist in the 60s in civil rights, but the only time I ever had a cross burned on my front yard was in relation to Zimmer. And I think it also reflects Claremont County, as you know, it's not lily white, but it's pretty white. And these days, to use the new color, it's bright red. And so there was considerable hostility from the workers, although the neighbors that I was closest with were still friendly. And I heard all kinds of stories about what was going on and how the outrageous, actually thievery that was going on, and the belt buckles. Is Ben Kaufman here? Somebody said.
Yeah, Ben's here.
Where?
He's back there.
Did you bring in one of those belt buckles?
You want me to flash it?
Yeah. Hi Ben, good to see you.
Alyssa said please.
Well, there it is.
Built and triple over time with nothing to do, out of nuclear grade stainless steel, and I won't go further. The person who acquired it and shared it with me said he took it out of the bed of a pickup truck filled with them.
Yeah.
That was on your bill too.
Yeah, well, and they, by the way, I think it's clear that those workers were not necessarily up to nuclear standards, but they did a really nice job on those belt buckles. I would also mention that eventually, one of the talks I gave was in northern Kentucky, and I was debating Professor Sanger, who you may know. He's the one that did radioactive experiments unbeknownst to the black people in the study. It got quite infamous there, but I was debating him. He was saying that there's nothing wrong with Zimmer, and I was saying, oh, wait a minute, there could be. But after the talk, he took me aside and said, you know, you're not worried about the right thing. Zimmer's not a problem. You should be looking into Fernald. So that was my next project. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but it's a related story. Okay, wrap it up. So I will finally say that one of my students, Carol Mock, who lived in Moscow, had a friend, Gary Kreider, who's a lawyer, a right-wing lawyer, but she was good friends with him, and he managed to get me intervener status in the actually it was AEC at first, and by that time it was Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And as I was told that I was the first citizen granted intervener status in a nuclear hearing. But he, as soon as I got intervener status, he said, I did my job, I'm out of here. So then John Woolaber picked up the
All right. Nice transition.